Hi AP Seminar students, Mr. Muller here, and in today's lesson we're going to talk about what, why, in order to statements. Now this takes place in level 1 research, and this is taking general interests that you have, whether it be sports, whether it be engineering, whether it be medicine, whether it be science, whether it be history or English or whatever it is, taking those general interests and developing a general path for research. Hope you're excited. I'm excited. Let's get started. Now, the goal of a what, why, in order to statement is to transition from an interest to a particular path for research. And the first thing you have to do is just think about what your interests are. Think about interests that you can actually research, that you can delve into, that you can learn more about. A research topic is an interest state specifically enough for you to imagine becoming a local expert on it, not a total expert. Your goal is not to become the master of all engineering or master of all medicine or the master of all history. You are going to become a local expert on one little thing. Now, when you start that, my suggestion would be to start listing as many interests as you can. Think about all the things that interest you, and once you have those interests, you're going to transfer those interests into general topics. Just once you have that general list, you're going to choose one or two of them. So for instance, if I'm interested in World War II, so I'm going to make sure that's my interest, I'm going to do different topics. I could say the rise of the Nazi Party, I could say the Soviet Germany side of the Eastern Front. I could talk about the bombing of Berlin and how the British were able to dig themselves out. I could look at the fire department for London. I could look at the French resistance movement. So I'm just getting general topics from my interest in World War II. So now I'm going to choose one of those two that I think would be really interesting to look at and find more information on. So let's say I'm going to be looking at the firefighters who put out all the fires from the German bombing in London. So the first thing I'm going to do is Google that topic. Just get some general topics and copy the list of references. I can find ideas in blogs, I can skim encyclopedia entries, and I'm just trying to find general information from these interests as well. So if I'm trying to think World War II, I can look through these different things, and then maybe I find, okay, the firefighters who put out all the fires after the London bombings, that's what I'd like to learn more about. So let's say I go through that general process to get a topic that I like. Now what you're going to do is try to take that topic and really focus it. You're going to do a general check and make sure that topic is worth researching. By the way, that top bullet point for advanced projects, this is more for AP research, but if you're doing an advanced project, you always have to see what gaps in research currently exist in your field of discipline. We'll talk more about that in AP research. So once you have that topic, you have to make sure that it's not too broad. If it's way too broad, so for instance, how Hitler came to power, that is way too broad. You're talking about 20 years of history and a whole lot of politics that not only encompass the socio-economic ideas of Germany, but also bringing in other countries as well. You have to make sure it's fairly specific. Think about words like conflict, description, or developing. So for instance, if I'm going to be looking at the firefighters in London, I would say, how did firefighters in London develop tactics to contain fires from the bombings in London? Notice, I'm not being overly broad. I'm looking for one particular topic. Another one that I have listed down here is the conflict of free will and inevitability in Tolstoy's description of 3 battles in War and Peace. So this would be from a literature discipline. They're looking at War and Peace, and they've narrowed that down to a particular topic. So now you're going to have that focused topic. So in my case, it's how the firefighters developed particular tactics to put out fires from the London bombings in World War II. Now I have to think about particular questions. Now I have a topic, what questions can I ask about that? Because those questions are going to lead to research to try and answer that. Now, if you don't ask a specific question worth asking, then there's no going to be specific answer. There's nothing to really argue. And don't try to gather all the data on a topic. Just get general questions that will point you to sources that you can find. When you develop those questions on the topic, so if I'm looking at firefighters in London in World War II, I could say what tactics did they develop to put out the fires? I could say, how did they organize their efforts to try to get to fires quickly after the bombings? I could say, what technology did they implement in order to control the fires? And these are just general questions that I'm making based off that topic. When I run out of questions, I'm now going to test them and see which ones are worth actually researching. So if I have a question where the answer is a fact, throw it out, because that's not going to be an argument. If it's going to be just speculative and there's not going to be information on it, throw it out. And if it's a dead end and I'm not going to find an answer to it, throw it out. So saying what technology did they use, that's answerable. I can't really argue that point. How did they develop the tactics? Okay, maybe that might be a dead end. But if I'm looking at firefighters in World War II in London, I could say, maybe my question is, how important were they to the victory and Battle of Britain? And maybe I could find some information on that. Maybe I will see how much their contributions impacted the ability for Britain to defeat Germany in the Battle of Britain. So let's say that's my question. Now I have to take that question and find its significance. So I'm going to pose a tougher one. So the question that you have to think is, all right, well, I want to know how significant the firefighters were to the Battle of Britain and the London bombings. Well, so what? Why is that important? Well, I think that's a piece of history that hasn't really been researched, that people, especially in Britain, should know about, and the people who were in there should be honored. So based on that, now I can develop my what, why, and order statement. I've gone through the process of a general interest, developed some topics, developed some questions, went through some checkpoints for those questions, and now I'm going to use my what, why, and order statement. The first thing I'm going to do is do the what. What am I trying to learn about? So my what statement is going to be, I am trying to learn about the firefighters in London during the Battle of Britain. Now I'm going to do my why, because I want to find out. Because I want to find out how much their contributions impacted the victory of Britain over Germany in the Battle of Britain. Or I want to find out how much their contributions saved lives and saved London during the Battle of Britain. And then I have to answer the so what question. Because I always have to think about when you write arguments, you're not writing for yourself, you're writing for readers. So what do I want my readers to know based on the argument that I'm going to try and create? So I'm going to say, in order to help my reader understand the contributions of firefighters in world conflicts. Or I could say, in order to help my readers understand the contribution of firefighters in order to honor their sacrifices and efforts during the Battle of Britain. That's a what, why, and order to statement. Now that I've got that what, why, and order to statement, now I can start doing some more specific research and reading to really understand the efforts of firefighters in World War II in order to develop a problem statement and research question. Hope you learned something you didn't know before. Thanks for watching.